So I think one of the big things that most founders don't realize is that there's two different stages of building a company from a founder's perspective. The one is when you are a founder, and then the other one is when you need to become an executive. Now, at the early stages, usually pre-seed to seed, it's all about being incredibly capital efficient, doing things that don't scale in order to prove that there is an opportunity here to build a system that is more scalable. However, once you're sort of Series A and beyond, then it's all about how do you build systems that scale. And so you deploy money very differently. You think about management teams, leadership, product in a very different way. So I would say one of the big tips is to not confuse the two different areas. When you're starting out, be very, very lean, be very capital efficient, make money however you need to, prove a experiment however you need to, don't worry about the scalability of it. And then as you are scaling, then that's when you start to worry about building systems. Another tip I have for founders is that it's a story. Building a startup is a narrative, and more often than not, it's convincing your employees, it's convincing your clients, and it's convincing your funders of the fact that you're building something better in the future. A lot of people are actually very comfortable knowing that startups aren't the end product. They're not perfect, they're not finished, they are going to get better. So on the one hand, you need to come up with what better looks like. The other is you need to actually then build a plan backwards from what that looks like to where you are today. And then you just really need to execute on that story. And the more things you can do to position yourself as in proving that you are the builder, the easier it becomes to convince people to trust you. One of the tips that I think most founders don't realize until later on in the game is investors don't give a shit about your business, is the reality. At some point they will, but early stage investors really just care about the founders and the founders' ability to survive no matter what, to get the job done, to have the vision, to build the team, to build the product. And so when you're pitching an early stage investor, don't worry about the granular details of your business. Really just get them confident about why they should work with you, why they should trust you, why they want to work with you as a person, your friend potentially. And then be very selective about who you have on board, because they're heavily going to influence the future of your business. Another tip I have for founders is the premiums placed on experienced teams. So everybody hears how investors invest in the team, how you need to build the best team, and everyone likes to look at their co-founders and be like, wow, you are great, we are the best team. The reality is it's very clear when there is an experienced team versus when there is first-time passionate hungry founders, or when there's just terrible founders. If you have the option to build your team at the early stages, very much focus on people who have experience building what it is that you actually want to build. Understand what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. Complement your weaknesses with somebody who's very strong in those areas. Find somebody who is a domain expert. Find somebody who's got connections to investors, who's got connections to clients. You don't have to bring your friends on as founders. You really just need to bring on somebody who you can work with and who's going to unlock the most potential for your business. Most founders think that it is a rush, and there are definitely times where building a startup is a race against time. But there are a lot more times where you're creating artificial deadlines and pressure for yourself to grow and perform and achieve more than what is actually realistically possible. And founders put themselves into a position where they are building a weak foundation because they are feeling this pressure to build. When in reality, the first few years of running a startup, you have the ability to keep things incredibly lean, go on that ramen diet. And so for a lot of founders, I would say rather take a few more years in the early stages, learn what you want to build, learn who you want to build it with, learn the foundational knowledge, learn sales, learn marketing, learn fundraising, learn the legal side, learn about people, management, etc. And it's not instinctual for entrepreneurs to want to slow down growth in order to learn. But it's certainly a much easier thing than growing too quick and then realizing you don't have the time to learn the things that are actually necessary to get you to the next phase of the business. So yeah, a tip that I would actually have is slow down in the areas where you don't need to rush and rush the areas that you do.